This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch for Tuesday, October 8th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the backlash against President Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, a move that critics say abandons America's allies, the Kurds in the region. The president's team putting together a strategy to fight back against the move to remove him from office, why they say they will not cooperate with Democrats. Although young people in America have been growing up without a knowledge of God or the Bible, we're going to show you how many of them are actually thirsty for answers to spiritual questions. And we're going to hear from a celebrity chef who says all food is a gift from God. And we'll get her advice about how to use food to nourish the body as well as the soul. We've got those stories and more today in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin with the controversy over President Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from parts of Syria. Late Monday evening, a senior administration official said the president is repositioning about 50 U.S. troops inside Syria, not withdrawing them. About 1,000 U.S. troops are positioned in northern Syria. They act as a buffer protecting America's staunch allies, the Kurds, from Turkey and other adversaries. Without the Americans present, the Kurds fear Turkey's President Erdogan will launch a threatened military incursion into the area. Monday afternoon, the president insisted he's keeping a campaign promise to withdraw American troops from foreign wars.
Why are you siding with an authoritarian leader and not our Kurdish allies?
Well, I'm not siding with anybody. We've been in Syria for many years. You know, Syria was supposed to be a short-term hit, just a very short-term hit, and we were supposed to be in and out. We want to bring our troops back home.
Well, now CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips brings us a look at the pushback the president has received over that decision.
The president has been getting backlash on almost every hand over this decision, but he maintains it's time for America to get out of what he calls endless wars. And Trump adds he would move to obliterate Turkey's economy if the country does anything he considers off limits. Monday, U.S. flagged military vehicles could be seen leaving the Syria-Turkey border. It came just hours after the White House released this statement saying, in part, the United States forces, having defeated the ISIS territorial caliphate, will no longer be in the immediate area. All of this following a Sunday phone call between President Trump and Turkish President Erdogan. Since then, a flurry of presidential tweets defending his decision that many say paves the way for Turkey to invade northern Syria. Trump tweeting, "It is time for us to get out of these ridiculous, endless wars, many of them tribal, and bring our soldiers home." Even some of the president's most loyal supporters speaking out against this move that puts the Kurds, who partnered with U.S. troops, at major risk, like Senator Lindsey Graham.
This is a big win for Iran and Assad, a big win for ISIS.
Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, a Trump appointee, tweeting, "We must always have the backs of our allies if we expect them to have our back. Leaving them to die is a big mistake."
We are most unfortunately abandoning our friends in the Syrian opposition.
Benham Ben Taleblu is with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.
I think the U.S. is going to be creating a vacuum with this withdrawal. I think Turkey is going to get more involved. And I think Iran and its proxies and partners is going to become more emboldened. And that is a recipe for disaster right on Israel's doorstep.
Senator Rand Paul has offered a lone voice of support for the president's decision. A Turkish invasion would endanger the lives of thousands of Christians in northern Syria, something Pat Robertson addressed on Monday's 700 Club.
The President of the United States is in danger of losing the mandate of heaven if he permits this to happen.
Still, many are hoping the president will do what he has in the past and change his mind about withdrawing troops from Syria, but that's not looking likely. The other wild card, what will happen with ISIS detainees in the region? On Monday, ISIS leader Abu al-Baghdadi called on followers to strike where they can, storm prisons, and spark a resurgence of ISIS. Meanwhile, the president has been frustrated with European nations who will not reclaim their ISIS fighters who were captured during the war. Eric Phillips, CBN News, Washington.
And continuing our coverage, CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell is joining us now from Jerusalem with more on this important story. So, Chris, what are the implications if the Syrian Democratic Forces work with Syrian President Assad?
Well, Ephraim, that's what they say they're considering right now. There was a statement put out by the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Democratic Forces. He says, "We are considering a partnership with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad with the aim of fighting Turkish forces." And what that means is, first of all, Ephraim, it's sending a message to the people of northeast Syria that we don't be as terrified as you are right now. We have your back. There'll be a way, another option if Turkey does decide to come in. We have a partner. Now, it also it changes everything. And what it would do, Ephraim, it would bring in the Iranian influence. Iranian militia has been waiting for about 2 years on the Syrian borders of northeast Syria. They would want to come in and take part of this area. It has both a large oil reserve, so that would be a boon for the Iranians. It would also bring them closer to Israel and pose a threat to Israel's northern border and help connect that land bridge that they have dreamed of for many years from Tehran all the way to the Mediterranean. They would also likely insist that U.S. forces would have to leave the area, so that really turns the whole thing upside down. The one caveat, Ephraim, is that they say they're considering this move, which gives them some legal room, because everybody right now is looking to the United States, to the White House and President Trump, what he may or may not do if he reverses his decision.
Chris, do the Turkish forces see this invasion as a jihad against the unbelievers? And what position does that put the United States in?
Well, that's exactly how they see it, Ephraim. And actually, in a pro-Iranian, pro-Erdogan paper, this is what they said. We are considering go and tell the unbelievers, that would be the Christians, Yazidis, Kurds in northeast Syria, that the army of Mohammed is back. So President Trump may see this as a way of a campaign promise to pull U.S. troops out of what he calls endless wars. But the Turkish forces see this completely different. They see this as a jihad. So if you consider the implications, it almost puts President Trump in the position of enabling a jihad, allowing these Islamist forces to come in and wage jihad against maybe 100,000 Christians. The Syrian Democratic Forces have been the main ally in the U.S. against the fight against ISIS. So that really turns the tables when you understand how the Turkish forces are looking at this possible invasion.
We're hearing evangelical leaders in the United States speak out. What impact is that having in northeast Syria?
Well, on the leadership of the Syrian Democratic Forces, it's having a great impact. I talked to one of their spokesmen today, and he said they were greatly encouraged by Pat Robertson's comments that Eric just played in his piece. They see U.S. evangelicals as one of their allies in this battle, that be able to try to get to President Trump, convince him, persuade him to reverse his decision, because they see this as an existential threat against them. Not only the people, the Christians, Yazidis, Kurds in the area, but also this embryonic democratic government that has risen up literally out of the ashes of the battle against ISIS.
So I know you have been there and met with the people. Tell us what they're going through right now.
Well, Ephraim, they're terrified. And just to put a human face on it, we were there and we were at a church of the Brethren in Kobani, just a few hundred yards away from the Turkish border. We were with Chinar and Zani. Chinar's cousin was killed by jihadist forces in a place called Afrin, and they're fearing the same scenario might unfold, so they're terrified. Also met with a man named Aram, who was one of our SDF contacts when we were there. He was showing us pictures of the many friends he had that had died in the battle against ISIS. So when you know these people firsthand, it puts a whole personal perspective on this battle, and their lives are in danger, and Lord willing, they'll be spared from this possible Turkish invasion.
Indeed. Chris Mitchell reporting from Jerusalem for us. Thank you, Chris. Back in Washington, the White House is finalizing its strategy against the Democrats' move to impeach the president. The Trump team is working on that after 2 weeks of what its allies have called a listless and unfocused response to the impeachment probe, something the president says is not valid.
Well, the impeachment inquiry is a scam.
The White House says it will send a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying it will not cooperate with the impeachment because Democrats have not held an official vote on it. The letter has been delayed as aides finalize a legislative and communications plan to go along with the legal strategy. There's a growing trend of regret among transgender people about their transition from one sex to the other. Author Walt Heyer, who detransitioned back to male 25 years ago, wrote the book Trans Life Survivors, drawing attention to dozens of people who refer to their sex change surgery as the biggest mistake of their lives. He told CBN News the surgery fixed nothing. It only masked and exacerbated deeper psychological problems, he added. Now, you can find more on this story, of course, at cbnnews.com. Coming up, despite all the concern about young people in America knowing and caring little about God, we're going to show you how many teenagers are actually thirsty for spiritual answers and where they're finding them. Stay with us.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us regent.
Numbers show young Americans know little about God or the Bible, and even some next-gen Christian leaders are walking away from God. But as Paul Strand reports, many teens are thirsty for spiritual answers, and they're waiting for someone to teach them the truth.
About 100 people recently gathered at North Carolina's Camp Cale to strengthen the future of Christianity by making sure these teenagers know how to stand up for the facts of their faith.
It's an interesting time in America. Some are calling it a post-Christian America, which might lead you to think, well, then why teach young people about how to defend the Christian faith?
So that the gospel can continue to go on.
American Family Radio's Miki and Will Addison say keeping Christianity alive and well in the U.S. can feel like an uphill battle.
There's almost this loss of hope. They say that this is the least religious generation in the history of the United States of America.
We feel like, man, before they even leave the house, a lot of times they're already gone.
Still, Miki insists there's no reason to surrender Generation Z.
I often go, wait a minute, Gen Zers, these people are still eating at your table. You haven't lost them yet.
Youth are spiritually hungry. I mean, they really, really are.
Alex McFarland of Truth for a New Generation leads these annual camps because he insists teenagers are desperate for answers.
Does truth exist? Does God exist? How can we know God exists? What about the Bible? Is the Bible true and trustworthy? What about Jesus?
Despite the culture's message that there are many paths to God and everyone has their own truth, McFarland says these kids aren't buying it.
In spite of decades of relativism really being pumped into the culture at so many levels, young people seem to intuitively know that there are some things true, there are some things false.
Daniel Ritchie, author of My Affliction for His Glory.
I think kids really feel like they're
they're almost being encroached and attacked from every single direction, and I think they're trying to find a way to navigate that.
Even in their schools, you'll see where they have teachers, you know, in colleges, universities, that are against what we believe, and they will be really bold about it. And I think our kids have to be equipped to withstand that, you know, and not crumble under it.
Especially in a public school, people around you aren't always the most Christian-like.
That's why Grayson Harmon came to camp for a second year, to become grounded in the truth that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
He's the only way to heaven, and not just the good works we do gets us into heaven.
Versus the pantheon of all these other false gods, he's the only one that stepped into our mess and remedied it by his grace.
Richie comes to show teenagers that with God in their life, no amount of resistance, trials, or tribulations has to knock them off their feet.
My suffering in terms of being born without arms is just, it's a lifetime sentence. I know what it is to feel like life's not fair, but then to know that God in his grace is better than the infirmities and the insecurities and the sufferings that I have to face.
So he's anxious to share at camps like this one.
To give kids the opportunities to see that their hardship is a remarkable opportunity for them to share the gospel is something that I think students need to see.
Since young minds and hearts get filled with something, Miki says to fill them with what's actually true.
We are indoctrinating our kids. And when I say that, people go, well, isn't that bad? And I go, well, it depends on the type of doctrine that they're getting.
McFarland says the kids want the truth even if it's not popular with the culture.
Kids thank us. Middle schoolers thank us for not sugarcoating and being very straight.
He just counseled a young lady in a tough situation who really needed hard truth.
She looked at me and she said, look, don't sugarcoat it.
McFarland asked her why.
She said, because I know so often adults tell us what they think we want to hear. Please tell me the truth. And all around her 6 little heads were nodding in agreement.
They are bold. They are courageous. They just need to be armed with the truth. They want to be a light in darkness, but we need to make sure that we pass on that light to them.
The message from this apologetics camp: don't give up on America. And don't give up on this generation. Many of them may be biblically illiterate, but when they hear the truth, they embrace it. And so there is hope. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Camp Cale, North Carolina.
Still ahead, we hear from a celebrity chef who says all food is a gift from God, and we'll get her advice about how to use food to nourish the body as well as the soul. Stay with us.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Welcome back. All food is a gift from God. So says celebrity chef Melissa D'Arabian. The Food Network star joined CBN's health reporter Lori Johnson in the kitchen for advice about how to use food to nourish the body as well as the soul.
You became a celebrity chef sort of by accident, and you sort of stumbled on this career and have done so well. And this book, unlike so many of your other ones, is not a cookbook.
Not a cookbook.
It's about your fascinating life story and your faith journey and your journey with food all combined together. And I just found it riveting. I just am fascinated by it. And you know, you talk about how you grew up extremely poor. Your mom was a single mother, and you didn't even realize you were poor until you saw the other kids at lunchtime.
Yes. Yeah, that school cafeteria can tell you a lot about where you stand in the social pecking order, and that's where I realized that I was poor.
And the people in the cafeteria sort of took pity on you, and they allowed you to sort of have the hot lunches even though you couldn't afford them, and you would work in the kitchen to pay off your lunch.
My first job in food was in the school cafeteria when I was in elementary school, and I think that the joy about that story, and it's actually chapter 1 of Tasting Grace, is that I was welcomed in to community. There was a little girl named Katie who used to share her corn chips with me, and she didn't just hand me corn chips, which, by the way, she just thought she was sharing corn chips. I was actually counting on those corn chips to fill up my stomach, but she shared her life with me at the table. And when I was finally put on the school lunch program, I was brought in with dignity and with this job, and I became friends with the fellow lunch ladies, and we wore our hairnets together, and I was part of a community. So food can do so much to bring us together and unite us, and I think that's what Tasting Grace is celebrating.
Absolutely. And then you had an excruciating trauma, and your mother committed suicide, and for 10 years you became a heavy drinker, and then you even got arrested for DUI and was thrown in jail. And it was there that you really reached out to the Lord, and man, he met you where you were.
Well, I will tell you this. You want to know who your friends are, go to jail for a night, right? Because you really do get one phone call. Wow. But the good news and the great redemption of that experience was that God drew me right close in. And I think that that so often, at least for me, when I was in that spiritual winter, I was sort of treating God like a distant relative who I didn't want to be cut out of their will. So like I would like pray every now and again. And the amazing thing is that I realized that God had been there all along. Yes. It was a completely self-imposed winter. He had been there all along. And so what a joy to be drawn back close to our Creator.
That's so beautiful. Fast forward, you were working in Paris and you met your wonderful husband. Yes. And so you have 4 beautiful daughters. You were a stay-at-home mom trying to make ends meet, and you know a lot about that. And so you had your homemade yogurt recipe. You put it on YouTube because it saved you like $1,000 a year, and that got you on the Food Network.
Yeah, so it was my little homemade yogurt video. And by that, I mean homemade yogurt and homemade video. Like it was literally like homemade video. This is before phones had video capability. But yeah, that led to me being on Food Network and sharing the voice in food that is our normal Tuesday night meal. I love chefs. I love the beauty of food as art, and there's such a lovely story behind that. But when we make restaurant food the litmus, the bar that we need to reach as a home cook on a Tuesday night trying to feed our families, it can be intimidating. And I felt like it was a valid voice to come forward and say, here's how I get dinner on the table without spending a lot of money and with the craziness of 4 kids in diapers.
So you were on the Next Food Network Star. It's a competition program, and you won with this dish that you're going to show. This is the bacon potato tort. Love it.
Yeah, it's a real elevation of some of God's really simple ingredients.
Now to watch Melissa make her award-winning tour, you as well as other healthy and delicious foods. Tune into Healthy Living. It airs this evening at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, we're going overseas to Indonesia to show you how Orphans Promise is working with the churches there to spread hope and the love of Christ.
Wouldn't it be great if you could just hop on a plane and fly to a third world country and hand out food and medicine to the needy? And wouldn't it be great if some of those people came to know Jesus as their Savior because of your help? And wouldn't it be great if you could help out people like this all around the world every day? Wouldn't that make you feel great? And what if you could do all of this without having to leave your home or write monthly checks? Well, you can. Partner with CBN and you can help spread the gospel all around the world and make it a better place. And when you sign up for Pledge Express, your contribution will be deducted from your bank account every month automatically. It's a safe and simple way to make a difference. Plus, wouldn't it be great to get life-changing teachings every month from Pat and Gordon? When you sign up for Pledge Express, you'll save time and money, and you won't just sit around and watch the world go by. You'll help change it for the glory of God. Now, wouldn't that be great?
When you care, souls are set free. When you give, lives are made new. When you share, eternal life begins. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is working with churches in Indonesia to spread hope and the love of Christ. High rates of poverty and unemployment in the country can wreak havoc on children and families struggling to make ends meet. Orphans Promise teams are operating School of Life centers that offer a safe place for children to come receive mentorship, homework help, and nutritious meals. There are more than 20 Schools of Life programs around the world. To learn more about how Orphans Promise is helping orphans and children at risk around the world, simply go to orphanspromise.org. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I hope you will post, tag, tweet, and share with those in your circle of influence. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But get this, that doesn't mean he has to do things the very same way. So with that, be careful not to limit him to only the ways you are familiar with him working. He is the same, but he stands ready to do a new thing with you, for you, and through you. With that word, I encourage you to make today a terrific Tuesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs anytime on the CBN News Channel or online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.